Evening, everyone, and welcome. Coming up next on tonight's installment of Speed Gaming Events, we have another match scheduled for the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer 2020 tournament. I'm Teeks88, and I'm joined by the Haxer, a fellow tournament competitor and a very talented runner himself. Haxer, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I don't know about talented, but I do play the game sometimes, and I do all right.
That's true. This match will be between uropsalis and magooisadorable. Magoo has been an active racer in last year's SMB3 Randomizer Tournament here on Speed Gaming and will be making a return in this year's installment. uropsalis is an up-and-coming talented runner in the SMB3 Randomizer community and has been a regular participant in the Randomizer weekly races we have on the Speed Gaming channels. They're normally scheduled on Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And he's proven to be consistently a very solid contender. So I'm looking forward to seeing what both of these players will have in store for us tonight.
Yeah, also has one of the top 10 saves in speedrunning.
Right,
good memes.
So as you may know, both players will be starting off by racing the Group 1 flag sets. Therefore, the world order will remain the same as vanilla SMB3s. Most of the levels will remain within their respective worlds, but shuffled relative to where their locations would ordinarily be on the map. So levels like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3 will likely all be in World 1, but their panels will all be in different spots on the map. You may see some uncommon exceptions, like seeing 7-9 show up in World 6, and that's mainly meant to accommodate the fact that the number of forts you'll find in each world is randomized as well, so levels get swapped around to fill in those gaps. So it looks like both of our races are right out of the gates, starting off with the first fortress. So we'll see if either of them are going to be going for the item, if that's an option with their power-ups. Doesn't seem that to be the case. So uropsalis is making his forward to Boom Boom's rim, and unfortunately just takes a miscalculated jump. So Magoo has a slight lead here right now.
Yeah, you hate to see the star there, honestly. Come on, where's the leaf, man? Where's the luck? But yeah, no, I mean, this is an alright first level, I guess, to have. At least I got one power-up in it. But yeah, obviously they don't have an opportunity to get the item now. So we're kind of even here with both taking that opening death, but looks like Magoo's got or just a slight lead anyway, about 5 seconds maybe.
Depending on where the lock shows up on the map, sometimes it's not always the wisest strategy to go for the item because that means that wouldn't necessarily break the lock. So that might mean they have to do a roundabout and do additional levels, which would cost a little more time.
That's a good point, yes. The good news is, at least you know, if you got World 1 fort, it's not required in the logic, so there is that.
Looks like both races made a really wise decision to just take it a little bit easy on the first hill in 1-5, because sometimes you'll come across some enemies that you can't necessarily slide to kill, like some of the Spinies or the Goomba Shoes. So they both make it out of there unscathed.
You usually see Spinies. It's like always Spinies on there, in my experience.
And compared to vanilla SMB3, 1-1 can be a little more dangerous than randomizer just because there's a higher tendency for something weird to show up like a boss bass right in the beginning, and it's not always convenient to go for the power-ups that are on the lower levels. But it seems to be treating both of the racers pretty nicely.
You can't really go in the clouds either because normally you don't get an enemy setup that allows you to do, you know, what you'd consider normal speedrunning strats in that level. And we get to see the differences between the Hammer Bro squares here. So one square is significantly nicer than the other. So you get the double boomerang fight on the left square, and then on the right square, Magoo got a much easier fight. And, you know, we see him keep fire and not take the death as a result.
Looks like we have a thick Larry this seed, so it's going to take him a couple hits with the stomp kill and wasn't able to maintain that flower, so it's going to set him back a little bit. So they're still both pretty much on the same pace as each other, still very much within striking distance.
Yeah, I'm going to say I disagree with the hitbox that I just saw there. but Larry doesn't care.
Bucks in this game just cares nothing about your feelings, and normally you have collisions like those if both hitboxes come in contact with each other as either of the Koopalings are just jumping, they're reaching their maximum Y velocity. So sometimes the hitboxes just kind of overlaps each other and it registers as damage instead.
Yeah.
I know Iggy definitely has the reputation for...
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, any of the high jumpers you see in Randomizer, but I think sometimes too the hitboxes don't actually match the model exactly, so you get some overlap too, where you're like, but I was above him, but not the case.
So uropsalis is the first one making his way into World 2, so he has a very early pipe, so that should give him a good shortcut to the second half of the overworld map. Unfortunately, neither of them have hammers to break any shortcuts. So he's going to have to go for that forward and backtrack a little bit. So doesn't look like he has too much difficulty with the enemy spawns here in the pyramid, but we'll see as he makes his way through. And Magoo is not that far behind him.
Yeah, thankfully not getting a star from that item spot. It's like the worst thing ever.
The star definitely doesn't do you any favors, especially since you can't afford to lose that shell that you need to break open that wall.
And yeah, that hammer bro at the end can be kind of pesky too. Normally it would be a boomerang bro in vanilla, but you get random hammer bro in this version, so you definitely want to be careful.
There's anything I noticed from my experiences is that if you get one of those tan hammer bros right at the end of the pyramid, there's like a 90% chance that he's going to do a really high jump. So you're best just running off the pipe and just going straight for the card.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably the best strategy. And then, you know, in case you get the fire bro, you got to keep running too, because the fireballs will catch up to you if you don't. So yeah, we actually see the Sky Fortress here from World 5 in World 2. So as you mentioned, the fortresses are a little mixed up here, just depending on, you know, how many fortresses each world gets. It's kind of neat. I believe, unless that's changed, you can actually speed strat this fortress like normal. It's one of the few levels in the game where it's pretty much the same.
It doesn't really matter if you get a dry bones or a hot foot. Like on that fourth platform right in the beginning of the fort, you could still build P-speed enough in time just to make it past the Podoboos, and they're not going to be in your way as long as you treat it consistently as the P-speed strats in vanilla.
We probably shouldn't say it too loud. You don't want to give Fred any more ideas on dangerous things to randomize. Can you imagine random Podoboos in that level?
Fair enough. More of Bowser's fireballs in other forts.
Yeah, right. No, Boom Boom's fireballs. Boom Boom's got upgraded weapons. Truly the upgrade that Boom Boom needed. So we see Magoo having a little trouble with the end of the pyramid here, and yeah, it's a tan hammer, bro. It's funny how I jinxed him, and now, you know, he's just stuck here.
So looks like uropsalis picked up the star from the World 2 Fortress, so he'll have no issues making his way past the bullet bills and cannonballs. Fortunately, he wasn't able to carry it over to Morton Koopa, but it doesn't look like he's going to need it in the long run. We have a bit of a thick Morton fight, but it doesn't really seem to affect the fight all that much, and uropsalis gets through there unscathed. So he'll be the first one going into World 3. And we'll see what the first levels he's going to encounter is going to be.
So the two thick Koopalings right away, huh? So we can see what Magoo is going to do here. There are a couple power-up opportunities in this level, but it's kind of scary to slow down in it for that reason.
Doesn't do you any favors to take that level carefully when you have both upside down and right side up Podoboos just right from every direction. Looks like our first level is going to be 3-2. So uropsalis is very adequately equipped for this level with both the star and the fire flower. So doesn't look like he has any issues with the hitbox collision with the cheap as well. So he was lucky enough to just let him pass.
Yeah, that's another level. Based on what I've seen, it seems like you can always, I think, P-speed strat that too, because the cheaps are still there. So, normally when you play randomizer, the levels are so shuffled. But I think in this flag set, you might actually see some players actually get 3-2 P-speed.
It's universally consistent where the cheap positions are, regardless of what the flag set is. So you'll always be able to do the vanilla P-speed strat.
Yeah. Normally, though, you just don't know you're entering 3-2, and it's really important to like know right away, right? Because you gotta be left pressing or whatever. But
if you get a late start, just trying to wind up for the P-speed, it's very easy to get frame rolled on those platforms.
Yeah. I know Magoo got 2 matches. I didn't see what items he got from them, but I think they both actually have the same items now. Or actually, I don't think we know what flowers are yet.
Uropsalis had a really good haul with his end cards as well.
See, I think this is another level you can technically speed strat too. I mean, obviously these hot feet tend to spawn there and they're kind of annoying, but if I recall, the roto discs aren't randomized, or at least the end ones aren't.
Every once in a while you'll find roto disc with reverse trajectory, but every once in a while, yeah, more often than less, you'll still be able to do the P-speed strat. Although you'll have to be a little more careful with your turnbacks and detouring because sometimes the hot feet can get in the way.
Okay, is it just the last 2 that aren't randomized? Because I don't think those ones are. Because I think you can always get past those with P-speed.
I think sometimes it's reverse and sometimes it isn't.
Because if they are randomized, that's actually just completely evil and not fair. I'm just saying.
It's a similar situation with the spiral tower in World 5. Sometimes the roto discs are reverse and you just can't do the same P-speed strat as vanilla. It looked like either players went into 3-5 with a P-wing equipped, so they're gonna have to take a bit of a slower route through the water. Fortunately, Magoo had some miscalculated swimming, so we took a hit from that blooper just now.
He's got to worry about game overing. I guess he's in, the beginning of the world, so it's not the biggest deal, but he is on 0 lives, so it might almost be better for him just to intentionally take one.
Have uropsalis rounding up 3-4. Be able to maintain his P-speed most of the way.
And we get runaway, bro. Nice. Even in randomizer, it's still there. So he's going to hope that this pipe's going to bring him to freedom, and it just makes everything more confusing. So he's going to check this other pipe here. Or no, he must have already checked that pipe.
Also, just by nature of the way that levels and pipes are arranged in World 3, it's almost always useful to have a hammer equipped and just take a shortcut rather than just play through a whole bunch of levels just trying to find the right fortress. It just the time adds up a lot when you're just having to constantly backtrack.
Yeah, it looks like by process of elimination, he knows exactly which pipe. It's the one above this fortress here, so should be the one he needs. Smart knowing that door 5 there actually gives you a power-up opportunity. Unfortunately, it's not a useful one really for him, but... Or no, I didn't realize you could actually get there with a star. Okay, never mind. Time save.
Similarly, if you're able to get the star in the small compartment in the room in the World 8 Fortress, you'll be able to carry it over past the conveyor belt to star kill Boom Boom as well.
So I just saw Magoo use 2 hammers there, so definitely taking a huge gamble here. I guess technically does skip a level, but I think he's hoping that this is the pipe, and I don't think he's going to be happy with the result. Although he only has to play the 1 fortress to get to the actual pipe. So, and this is a pretty good fortress to play.
Even though he's still pretty much within striking distance of uropsalis at the moment, those hammers could definitely have been used in a more economic way for future parts of the seed.
Yeah, normally, you know, you want to use it to get skips on like 3 levels, like every time, but you know, 2 levels you can probably justify. When you're skipping 1 level per, it's kind of like, eh.
But just by nature of this randomizer seed, all of the airships are going to match what worlds they're in and what Koopalings you fight. So you'll always fight Wendy on a flat ground, so that always makes for a really good fire kill fight. And it's also worth mentioning that Wendy's fighting pattern is going to be consistent, like it usually is in vanilla. So that uropsalis was pretty much set up perfectly for that fight. So once again, he's the first one making his way over to World 4. So we'll see if the second fortress in in 4F2 will be the one to unlock the bridge to get to the airship.
Yeah, it's a good point. You can always fire kill Wendy. Although sometimes it's faster to stop her because she's a single hitter, but it's kind of a risk doing it because then you get, you know, rings and stuff spawning. So I think generally it's probably better to fire kill, or, you know, I don't know if you agree or what you generally do, but for me, that's generally how I approach it, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I do it as well. Looks like Magoo was able to get the fire kill on Wendy. He had to do a little bit of backtracking because he was cornered by the rings, but he was still able to get through it no problem.
Oh,
once in a while, you'll be able to luck out.
Not being kind.
Every once in a while, you'll still be able to luck out with an easy Wendy fight if she decides to trap herself in between the wall and one of the platforms. So she has a limited space on where to go, and she doesn't jump all the time. So that pretty much just sets you up perfectly to just stand in place and just get 10 fireballs into her.
Yeah, it's a good point. Certain arenas make certain bosses significantly easier. I actually find the elevated arenas kind of make Lemmy really easy just because you're able to shoot down towards him and you don't really have to worry about, and he's like usually spawned in the floor too, so.
I don't necessarily want to jinx that. You have a very good point about that, but I've had elevated fights with Lemmy where it should have been really easy, but then I got the 10th fireball right at the wrong frame and then just kind of soft locked as he fell through the floor. And that's happened at least 6 times. Thankfully, it was never happened in a race, though.
That's crazy. I've never seen the Lemmy soft lock because that's just not something I don't think it's even possible in vanilla, just based on the shape of the arena. That's interesting.
I think it's just based on when he throws those green balls as well. When he decides to, what frame he decides to do his turn back. It didn't look like 4F2 ended up being the one to unlock the bridge, so they're both going to have to do a little bit of scavenger hunting. 4-6 seems to be giving uropsalis a little bit of trouble, and I can't really blame him because sometimes those enemy arrangements can be really, really tricky to navigate.
Yeah, it's a good point. He should still have a hammer advantage here, though. So I mean, even though they're definitely closer now than they were, I think he still has probably a slight advantage just because of that.
It's also worth noting about 4-6 is that sometimes you can enter those doorways if you decide that you want to to despawn an undesirable enemy or just get new enemy spawns altogether, because they count as two totally separate rooms, even though they look identical.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you see the 7-8 enemy set, just go through a door. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's a good opportunity to get rid of Boss Bass too if he seems to be giving you a hard time. Looks like uropsalis took the lower path for 4F1 and decided to be a little safe, grab a mushroom, and then come right back out, and had no problem with Boom Boom. So that should be the fort that unlocks the bridge to get to the airship. He goes for that Hammer Bro fight, which he doesn't.
Yeah, I think he's sad that he got 2 stars from Hammer Bro fights previously, so I don't think he wants to do it again.
Yeah, I can't blame him. Looks like uropsalis is looking to do the Peace Speech dress for the World 4 Air Fort. So that should save him a little bit of time over taking a more pedestrian route of just trying to maneuver past the high elevated platforms and the flamethrowers from the jet. A bit of a pit stop to grab that leaf there and just glide over some of those gaps. And at least he'll have 2 HP if in case Iggy gives him any trouble. Didn't really seem to need it though, so he'll be the first one going into World 5. Magoo not too far behind. He'll be joining uropsalis shortly.
What wonderful item is Peach going to bless us with today? Looks like Magoo is clearing out the end card for the most part here. I think he knows where most everything is at this point.
He panned out before we had a chance to see what the item was, so I'm sure we'll find out in due time. A tail is a really good item to have in 5F1, especially when you have... if you're trying to go fast in this fortress, you're going to have a bit of a rough time, because this is definitely one of those levels where reverse rotodisc can really give you a hard time. Additional power-ups in case you take damage, or it's also especially helpful to have a star, just in case, so you don't have to stop and take your time with the thwomps as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess if you just star equip, you can pretty much just speed all the way through that first section. And he gets no problem on the second try. So I think those pipes are going to lead to each other, so based on if I recall how that works. So I believe the tower is actually going to be required to go to the sky, which seems kind of rare. I mean, I don't see it a ton, I guess.
Oh, the spiral tower doesn't always necessarily lead you to the sky in Randomizer. It just leads you to any one of the pipes that are on the map.
Oh, it can even lead you to one of the lower ones? I thought it had to at least... interesting.
Sometimes the tower can lead you to one of the pipes that are on the lower portion of the map. uropsalis once again opts to avoid one of the Hammer Bros on the ground level, and he's just going to go straight for the spiral tower.
Ah, the rotodisc in this room is the worst. Usually that one's in like a bad spin pattern. And if you try to go fast, you'll just die. All right, looks like he's using the cloud there. Kind of a risk, especially with the level that he pulled here. It's not a hard level, but it's definitely a level where it's fairly easy to die in if you miss a jump. So I've definitely seen it with the enemy spawn too. Sometimes like those spinning platforms don't spawn.
There's only a small handful of levels where I would know that I would really want to use the cloud, and one of them would definitely be 5-9, just because of the fact that it's an autoscroller and you can't really get around that. But I don't really blame uropsalis for skipping. I don't really blame him for skipping 5-8 because as soon as you get towards, I think, the 8th platform, you get a random enemy that is not necessarily easy to dodge all the time, and with the Lakitu just looming right above you, things can get ugly really quickly. Rather than just take the risk of losing a continue and just losing an additional 20 seconds or so, just continue to push forward.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some levels where like long that are very obvious that I think cloud use is really good, especially in this flag set, since you kind of know what you're getting into. I mean, 6-6, if you see that as a required level in your way, you pretty much should just cloud that, I think.
So Magoo is looking to use his cloud on both 5-4 and 5-5. Human Mustard makes a really good point in chat. 5-3 is definitely a good choice for a cloud as well, just because you have those two portions of the level that are pretty lengthy and have a lot of obstacles in your way that could also potentially produce lag. Magoo is... Looks like he got the off-screen one grab. I see that Mario's head is out of bounds. We'll see if he gets the time skip.
Yeah, nice.
In which case he does. So
cutscene time save there of about, I think it saves about 4 seconds roughly.
Yes, I believe it's 4. Looks like they're both entering World 6 at roughly the same time. Looks like Magoo has a slight lead by a couple of seconds, so we'll see if he'll be able to maintain it. So first level will be 6-8. Fairly pedestrian in nature, so it's also really good to have that star power up there so we can just kind of power through some of those enemies on those small hills and be able to build P-speed right away without having to be too meticulous.
Oh no, uropsalis used a cloud there and unfortunately taking a death, so he's going to have to play 5-8 anyway. But I think he was making the right decision and deciding to play the fortress. He just unfortunately missed that jump.
I do believe uropsalis still has 2 hammers over Magooisadorable, so he should, even though he still has an additional level to play, he'll still have other opportunities for shortcuts to the airship. And World 6 is definitely the world you would want to use it on. Just because of how long that map can be and how you don't always end up very lucky with the way the pipe warps work. Fortunately, looks like 6-8 is giving uropsalis a bit of a hard time.
Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't. I don't think he has power-up inventory left, really. At least that he wants to burn. And this block's giving him a star. There is one other power block that's kind of slow, and he can wait and get right here if he chooses to. But oh boy. All right, he made it out of there.
So we'll see what item Magoo gets from the Hammer Bro, and gets a hammer, so he's able to gain a little bit more momentum in terms of how he decides to use it for his advantage.
Yeah, it looks like the fortress actually broke that lock, so it's only going to require the 1 hammer.
Looks like Magoo found a really good pipe to warp into because he's already towards the end. So if he's lucky, then he won't have a bridge to unlock. and he'll be able to go straight to the airship.
Yeah, it seems like the end card gave hammers because they both have a ton of them. So I don't think he's actually going to get punished for that hammer usage early. He must have known that he was getting multiple hammers from the end card, and that makes more sense.
And indeed, it was a good call on Magoo's part because he's going straight to the airship now. It doesn't have any bridges to unlock, so he'll be the first one to fight Lemmy.
All right, we can check the pipe here. And so, yeah, Magoo actually ended up playing an extra level. I think he just, you know, spur of the moment. You just kind of make decisions like that sometimes. It's a really great level to use a P-Wing in, by the way, because it allows you to use this upper section, and then also, you know, as long as you have a tail, you can actually get the off-screen wand grab in this fight.
The good thing about this arena is that he's fighting on flat ground, so he'll have enough leverage to build P-Speed in time to get the wand if he decides to go for it. A bit dangerous game, just dodging those green balls, but didn't look like he got the off-screen wand grab this time. He came close, though.
Yeah, I don't think he's off-screen enough. Let's see. Nope.
Fortunately not.
Yeah, normally you gotta have Mario's hand at least off-screen, I think, at the very least. But we basically
have to be really careful with
here, so
close so far. The chat is asking to explain the off-screen wand grab. So if you have a P-Wing or any other way of getting high, you know, just like off-screen, you can catch like the upper half of this sprite is off-screen, and then that counts as a screen wrap. So you'll save time because Mario falls slower than the wand drops. So you'll be able to avoid a good portion of that cutscene, which saves about 4 seconds.
So uropsalis having a tail going into Fort Knox here, this is a really significant time save. So this ends up being a really great decision for him. I'm guessing the card game must be giving clouds too, maybe? Or no, he's just checking that pipe.
The card game could give clouds, but I wasn't able to see what's in his inventory.
That's right. So he actually knew he needed a bridge, so he just wanted to make sure that, okay, so now he's just got to find the right pipe. Yeah, you can see that Magoo, you know, significantly longer path here because he had to get the Tanuki suit in order to beat this stage. I think there was one pipe on that island that uropsalis didn't check, actually. Yep, and it's the one that leads him to the final island there, so unfortunately for Magoo here, trying to clip the wall with a tail is not great, but apparently he's just a god and gets it within 5 tries, I think.
Clipping with the tail definitely isn't impossible, but it doesn't do you any favors either. Because you travel a little bit slower when you're doing your dash jump.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not gonna be happy with that cloud usage. So yeah, he missed the one pipe on the island. This just happens in World 7. You kind of get lost sometimes because there's so many pipes. Thankfully, this is not a terrible level, I guess, since you can clip through the wall. but having a tail here, definitely less than ideal. So Magoo actually taking a pretty significant lead, I would say, at this point. I don't think he's got plenty of hammer inventory, so that's not going to be an issue. So the hammer usage earlier in the game that saved him a couple stages actually is a big deal at this point.
You opt not to do P-Speed Dress in the World 7 airship. Having a tail is your next best option, since you have enough distance you could travel between each of the different platforms without having to really slow down.
So yeah, uropsalis choosing to ditch the tail here. It's much easier to do this clip without the tail as Big Mario than it is with it, just because of when you move in the air with the tail, your speed is actually slower. So higher speed value equals better chance to clip. So yeah, we'll see if he's figured out where the pipe is that he missed. Meanwhile, Magoo getting in the World 8 here, so kind of a weird looking setup at the beginning. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Magoo doesn't have a cloud in his inventory that I'm aware of that he can really just skip over it. But it shouldn't really be an issue. Ideally, you would like to have at least see some sort of Tanko Fortress that can unlock something as soon as possible, so you don't have to go digging around in the dark room and risk getting jebaited by a hand that you can't see.
Looks like you're accidentally entering the door here. Oh my god, this is an awful enemy set for this level. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh boy. I think P-Wings probably, yeah, I think that's a really good decision. I think both of them made the right decision here.
I agree.
Keep going. There you go. So being that he has the two hammers, I think he'll probably hammer the lock. At least that's what I would do, and at least check it. I mean, it's not like you keep them for the next race anyway. Might as well use them if you have a chance. So he could play the Air Force and then check a pipe, or he could go over this hand level, I guess, and no hand.
You can almost always expect there to be some sort of obstacle in your way to when you get to the Valley of Bowser's map screen. So it's usually a good idea to at least play one thing that can unlock either a lock or a bridge. So I would actually suggest that he plays the Air Force whenever he can.
Yeah, it looks like it's a really straightforward world here. So the hammer technically would have allowed you to skip two hands, is what it looks like. And yeah, I think it's worth just checking this, since, I mean, he doesn't have to play the other level. He does have another hammer, so so we know. Okay.
It doesn't lead him to anywhere except to E2.
Oh man. We see 3 locks, so at most there can be 1 bridge.
Worth noting that it's still pretty much anybody else's game, because I think they're only like 1 or 2 levels apart from each other. So and World 8 definitely has a reputation of being the great equalizer. So uropsalis still has an opportunity to solve the way to Bowser before Magoo does. So it's still very, very close.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be important for him to actually keep this tail, just based on the enemies we saw towards the end here. If he keeps this, this shouldn't be an issue for him. Yeah, there we go.
uropsalis had a really solid job on 8-1. He'll be joining Magoo in the Air Force as well.
So it's kind of interesting, yeah, that this is the required level. You know, he actually has a huge advantage here because those locks aren't going to be an issue for him.
I don't know about anybody else, but I think like when it comes to doing the Air Force without the autoscroller, it's easier to play it without the tail, just because depending on how you jump on some of those fire jets and the rocky wrenches, you can have a really good flow and rhythm going. So you don't really have to worry too much about just kind of miscalculating a jump and then just kind of gliding off the ledge.
Yeah, it seems like the little bit of like slower movement you get actually does affect how easy the stage is for some reason. Also, I've noticed it can look like you've landed on the ground, but you're not quite there, and you'll get a flutter and you'll just fly right off the edge.
So they're both making some pretty solid progress, just in terms of process of elimination on some of these pipe warps.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting if that level's required. I don't...
Like Magoo's taking a gamble that maybe that fort isn't going to be the one that unlocks it, so we'll see. I'm getting lost just watching them.
So yeah, no forts are actually required here. So checking the anchor there just to make sure it's not a hammer suit, because obviously that would be ideal. Living dangerously running under the statues, you can actually take damage there by running under those statues. So it's definitely suggested to jump over them. I don't know. It's like I don't know if it's like a frame rule thing, or I think it is a frame rule thing, but it does happen.
I've done some experimenting with the with Bowser's Castle myself, and I found that more often than less you'll be able to dodge it by just running under. I want to say that there have been some isolated cases where it can still hit you.
Yeah, you can definitely do it, but yeah, a lot of times you can't. So, or I mean, not a lot of times. Some of the time you can't, and you don't want it to be that time.
So unfortunately, it looks like Magoo lost his Fire Flower, but he's going to opt to take the lower route. So we'll see if he's able to pick up something from the question mark block below. And it ends up being a star, so it's not really going to help him for the Bowser fight. But it will help him temporarily, just trying to maneuver past some of these fireballs. Just at the wrong time, so we'll see if he's able to make it underneath Bowser's hitbox in time. So he'll have a bit of a slow kill, but he still does have a lead, so he can still finish strong.
So I think if uropsalis gets the clip to the end here, oh, I think he had enough time. It depends on what the fire pattern is here. I don't think he's gonna have quite enough time. But yeah, I think if he... Oh no. Wait, what? What did he get hit by? I mean, he was gonna get hit by that fireball, but I swear he took damage before.
Object overload, and sometimes the visuals for the fireballs will despawn, but the hitbox is still active. So he did effectively get hit by an invisible fireball.
Oh.
A lot of players.
Shout out to Fred.
So,
thanks,
ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs out for magooisadorable, who has an official SRL time of 42:45.
Yeah, really great race here, actually. They're going to be within 30 seconds of each other, so good stuff.
Uropsalis finishes 28 seconds afterwards with a 43:13. Get your GGs out for both races. A really, really close race. Really well done.
Yeah, so we got Magoo done here, getting the first race, and we got one more race coming up for you guys. So definitely stay tuned, and we'll be back in a little bit. Looks like one of us needs to make a new room.
back, everyone, on Speed Gaming. We're going to be beginning round 2 very shortly between uropsalis and magooisadorable for the SMB3 Randomizer Tournament 2020. So these two are going to be doing the Group 2 flag set. So contrary to the first race that we saw, the worlds are going to be shuffled. The world order is going to be shuffled. So do get your guesses out on which world we're going to be seeing first. Countdown has begun for the race.
I'm going to go with World 5, since no one guessed it. I mean, if I'm on a commentator's curse, I might as well have my way with the world choice as well, right?
I'm going to go with World 6, because that one's also a nuisance.
Okay. Wow. Nice, Fred.
And it ends up being World 1, so it doesn't look like they have any locks to contend with aside from the one that's behind the castle. So it's going to be just a straight linear path. And they'll be playing the fortress anyway.
Did you notice how this was also 1-5 on the 1-5 square, but it wasn't? If it was 1-5, I would have died probably.
Yeah, this is another interesting thing to note about this flag set. Unlike the first race, the levels are not going to be shuffled within their respective worlds, so you can pretty much encounter any level in the game regardless of what world map they're going to be on. So, as we just saw, uropsalis just finished 2-5. So, looks like Magoo is making, and Europe are both making their way to 5F2. So, similarly, they'll both be able to...
I think this is a great early game for it, honestly. This is like the dream, I feel like. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward linear fortress. You could just run straight through with P speed and still consistently avoid all of the potaboos, regardless of what cycle they might be on. It's pretty common to see 5F2 right in the beginning of World 1 when just considering how the fortresses can get swapped every now and then.
Got the double thick boy fight right there. Give him a little trouble, but I mean, got out of the stun lock eventually, and that's pretty much just the key. It's kind of crazy how which square you fight those hammer bros on can really affect your success rate.
So it looks like we got the World 3 airship. So even though it's the World 3 airship, Europe is not going to be facing Wendy. It's since he's still on World 1, he's going to still fight the World 1 Koopaling. It's just the airship itself that's going to be shuffled.
So yeah, what, like a 220 World 1? Pretty dang good, honestly.
So get your guesses out on what the next world is going to be. I'm going to say World 3.
I'm going to go with World 2 because, I mean, Fred.
It'd be really impressive if we have the same vanilla order in this Group 2 flag set. We actually had that a couple days ago. It was like a 1 in 5,000 chance. Oh my god, and we have World 2!
I think that's a really smart cloud usage because, yeah, right? I think he accidentally used the star, but I think this is a really smart cloud usage because you can just kind of go straight to that pipe. So it's like a free level skip, I guess.
Don't want to risk losing time taking a death, especially when you're going flesh into the world under equipped without any additional power-ups. You want to cover as much ground as you can, especially since you have the checkpoint with the pipe warp right there.
Yeah, it looks like the level he would have got too. It's a pretty decent level to skip. I mean, 5-6 isn't the best level to play, especially without power-ups, I feel like. And Of course, he gets a star there, which is absolutely the worst power up to have on this stage.
Two, 3 is another level that's really tricky to maneuver, just because the enemy spawns don't really lend themselves commonly to the P-speed strats that you would normally do in vanilla. So you might have to take a little bit more time just to make sure that you're not in harm's way as you're making your way to those pyramid-shaped blocks.
So we know that, obviously this fort isn't required anyway. But I mean, it is because it's in his way, but it looks like anytime you have one fort, it's not required, I guess, to complete to beat the world. So, oh, that's a great item for him to get, actually. So he'll be able to get the item here, because there's really no point for him to not get the item in the fort.
That's a really good point. Like Haxer said, whenever you encounter the World 1 fort, it's never going to break a lock that's absolutely required to advance to the end of the map to get to the airship. So he has nothing to lose by getting that item, since the lock isn't even going to be in his way. It looks like we have an early level 6/6. So
yeah, did he go back? Is he playing the other fort or something?
I think so. Yeah, I missed where 6/6 was on the map. Going back for the other fort.
Yeah, I think, oh, that stinks. If he'd have just gone for it, I think that would have been ideal. He could have just got the item and beat the level really fast. I think he's just focused on the lock. He's like lasered in on it or something.
He had just enough iframes to get past that fireball from the fire piranha. He came very close to having to restart that level. It's something you definitely don't want to do.
I don't know what that shell's doing, but nice video game. Okay.
All right, so it looks like uropsalis had some really early pairings going on on uropsalis' side. So it'll be very interesting to see what items he picks up. So even though he lost a little bit of time by playing 6/6 just now, if he got clouds and hammers, that should at least allow him an opportunity to catch up on the lead that Magoo has right now. He at least got a hammer just now, so that should definitely serve him in a positive way.
Yeah, he basically just got the Michael Jordan event cards, by the way. Meanwhile, Magoo looks like he's having a great time here. Yeah, just a grand old time.
Can't blame him for wanting to be a little careful around the Lakitu and the spawning arrangements, because it can be really ugly the way you can just get cornered in and not have a way of defending yourself.
I think it's hilarious how the block under the Fire Bros sometimes doesn't kill them.
Yeah, I think I've seen hitbox diagrams of the Fire Bros where the hitbox is just like a couple pixels above their feet. So it takes a couple attempts with the lower block just to be able to kill them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the Boomerang Bro model's the same. So like those two model types for Hammer Bros are actually different, which is interesting. I figured it'd be the same, right, for all three, but it's not.
I think Magoo tried to go for the off-screen wand grab, but he went a little bit too high, so the wand just kind of clipped right through him. So do get your guesses in on what the next world is going to be. I'm going to go with World 3. We'll see if we can keep this vanilla order going.
Yeah, this is a rough level to have here. That star power up. There is another power up block here that he could get.
Almost got sniped by that spiny. Can he still make it? Ooh, almost. Looks like it was indeed World 5 that Magoo will be starting on, so he'll be fresh out of the gates with 610. Looks like he's having a grand old time with those fire chomps as they kind of chase him around as he was... I'd imagine he was trying to go for the power-up, but probably wiser just to keep pushing forward since he's pretty much right at the end.
It's not often you can say a level that's got fire snakes and fire chomps is less laggy than the vanilla level, but that's definitely the case in that one.
Yeah, you could definitely generate quite a number of lag frames in vanilla 610 just because of all of the ice blocks that the Buster Beetles would ordinarily be throwing around.
Yeah, it's always great to watch it like explode off screen and then you know, one of them that isn't even really on the screen just dies and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like one of the Buster Beetles will take a death from the left-hand side, you just see him fall from the right.
So yeah, we got 5-1 here. Pretty simple stage. Always the best enemy in that one location, I find. Just always the exact enemy you don't want there. So yeah, it looks like if you take the tower pipe, it would bring you right to the end of this world. So there's like a potential for a really fast world here. I don't know. Wonder if there must be the pipe right there, so you can't even get to it.
We see on Magoo's Adorable side that he's doing the 1-5 beta level. So you see that the tunnels are arranged in a pretty similar fashion to what you've normally seen below, with a couple exceptions. Definitely a couple more piranha plants and pipes. Pretty much unscathed. And he opts to take the 5 up from the 3-of-a-kind stars. Definitely a good decision on his part since he was not that far away from a game over, so it's good to have that insurance policy in place.
Yeah, I think it's actually a smart decision in randomize. It only costs you like 3 seconds, and I just never see races that really come down to 3 seconds.
Doesn't happen very often, but you'd be surprised. It does happen every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially if you have more racers, probably.
I've definitely seen that happen with a couple of people in some of the Saturday weekly races. I think Ibuba and I were actually like 1 second apart in one night.
But you know it's really slow? Taking a game over.
Absolutely true. Especially when you already covered a significant amount of ground. You know, with especially if you didn't even when you complete the forts, they don't really lend themselves to much. So Magoo's the first one out of World 5, so we'll see what the next one's going to be. I'm just going to continue guessing World 3.
Well, I mean, 25% chance right here for you. Ooh. So I have this theory. World 4's kind of got this way of like making you play most of it a lot of the time. I don't know if that's something you've noticed, but I kind of
say at least a third
like
of the time
we're in for long. Yeah.
Let's say from my own personal experiences, at least a third of the time, the early pipe warps will lead you right to the beginning of the map, and you end up having to play a lot more than you would otherwise prefer. But you'd be surprised how many times it could just lead you right to where the bridge is, right before the airship. So you just have to play a fort or two before you can just advance forward. Usually a slow World 4 sets the stage for the rest of the seed, and
Oh yeah, that's when you know you're like, oh, this is a 40-minute seed, easy.
looks like Mago was opting to take the upper route for the 4F1. So even if he doesn't have a power-up equipped, it's still a slightly faster route altogether, especially since he could still grab a mushroom or a star from this section, and whatever he grabs, it's going to serve him well. So uropsalis will be joining Mago shortly in the in World 4. Meanwhile, Mago finishes up 4F1, so...
This was a Fred. Oh, it was one spot over. Okay, okay. Not completely, but mostly.
Very wise decision to bring the star into the Fire Bro fight. You'll notice how he took out one of the Fire Bros and the other one glitched and just died at the same time when he had that star equipped. That's actually a pretty common glitch I found in Randomizer.
Yeah, I've noticed that one too, when you have the star. I've seen it when you, with the blocks too, sometimes, if you, or if, you know, you kill one of them with a block, sometimes it'll kill the other one too.
That's another one as well.
Some nice evasive
Probably an unfortunate
maneuvers
arrangement
there.
of enemies in 4F1.
I mean, it is the worst level in the game. I mean, the best level.
Like, Magu tried to go for the fire kill on Iggy, but he had an early jump pattern right at the start, so that was a bit unfortunate. But it looks like he was still able to get him without any problem, and he didn't take any damage, so that fire will definitely be advantageous in whatever the next world decides to be. Speaking of which, I'm going to guess World 6 this time.
So I noticed uropsalis just got a hammer. Did Magoo get that? I think I missed if he did.
I wasn't sure either. Seems uropsalis has racked up quite a number of hammers from the glimpse I got of his inventory. So he still has a number of worlds where it would be a good opportunity to use them. World 3 especially being one of them. Speaking of which, I should have just been consistent in guessing World 3.
I knew it was going to be the first time you didn't guess World 3. I actually was thinking that.
Actually knows my meta too well at this point.
Oh no. Oh.
Ooh. Yeah, a bit of a miscalculated jump there, so right at the end of the level, it's definitely not... You hate to see it happen.
Yeah, pretty much. So it looks like he doesn't have the double hammer. So, I mean, I guess the good news is that you didn't need it to get to this pipe, and it wasn't the end pipe anyway, so...
It's definitely a good sign if you could access pipes as early as possible when you get to World 3. So you don't have to worry about having to double hammer. While we see Magu making his way through 7F2, so we'll see if he decides to keep that Fire Flower. Don't think that tail grab was intentional. It looked like he tried to jump over that leaf. But at least he has the extra HP in case that Thwomp decides to get him, which it does. He's going to make his way through the love tunnel right there.
Alright, he gets a free pass at the end of the level. Shout out to having a star. Uh-oh, he's got the rogue hot foot. Yeah, he's just, just go. I think. Well, he's got to get a little higher there. It's kind of hard to do because you're constantly falling the P-wing. So yeah, it kind of looks like World 3 is going to be a longer world by the looks of it, because that one pipe leads to a dead end, and those two, the other pipe leads to the pipe that he came out to do the fortress, and the fortress just broke a lock. So, so the pipe's definitely towards the end of the world. He did check the second pipe. It led him to the pipe across from the first pipe. See, I think it's pretty obvious which pipe he needs. It can be a big deal, actually, if you choose the right level there, because there's that level choice between the two levels. So one level could be significantly slower than the other.
So it looks like uropsalis 2 is going to be carrying the lead through 7F2. Damage in a very similar spot that Magoo did, so once again, he's going to have to be a little bit careful around these piranhas.
Yeah, uropsalis is kind of in a bad spot right now because of the hot feet down here, so he's really going to need some help with that second hot foot. All right. Actually, really smart there to keep it off screen, so it's not moving around and coming closer to him, I guess. So yeah, we got a couple level splits here that you can choose one or the other, and if you choose the wrong one, you could have a bad time. So
I think the tail is a really good level to have when you're going into 2-2, as Magoo is right now, because sometimes you don't always have the luxury of those flying power Koopas. So you don't really have a platform to boost off of to get over that wall, but at least with the tail, you'll be able to glide over the water and cover a little more distance before you have to do a slow swim.
So if uropsalis is able to keep this tail, the next level should be Fort Knox for him. So this will be pretty good.
And Magoo had to go through the through a slightly slower route by grabbing that Tanuki suit. So uropsalis should have a nice little shortcut waiting for him if he's able to hold on to the tail, or if he has another one in his inventory.
Or if he just gets one in the Hammer Bro fight.
Or gets one from the Hammer Bro fight. Just about to say that. Fortunately for Magoo, he has the he was going for the fire kill, but it looks like Wendy ended up being a one-hitter anyway. I'm gonna go and guess World 7.
Potentially the great equalizer.
I've been wrong with every world tonight.
I mean, this is also one of those worlds that, although this one looks, I mean, is it straightforward? I don't know. Maybe. Kind of makes you think that that pipe at the beginning leads to something good, right? Behind the rock.
Usually, the first one or two pipes that you encounter in World 6 and Randomizer is often the one that leads you right behind the rock anyway, so... But it's always worthwhile checking because every once in a while you'll get lucky and you'll get like halfway past the map. So you'll just have to hope that there are some forts waiting for you in case you have to unlock a bridge to get to the airship. So it's definitely one of those worlds where it's almost universally beneficial to have some hammers on hand.
Did you see Magoo swag on that fire, bro? Okay, this time Euro got it for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely an off-screen one grab. So he'll be able to have that 4-second time save.
So yeah, I guess since he had to play some levels to go back to that pipe, maybe he just kind of decided not to do it. I don't know what his hammer situation is either, I guess. That's kind of a key as well.
So we're back in 7-6, so Mug is going to be going for the wall clip.
Yeah, I think this is the right choice to play this forward if you have a hammer, because you can just check that pipe, and since we don't see anything else on the screen, you know it ends somewhere good. And I mean, he gets a free hammer, so why not? Oh, nice. Classic World 6, honestly. Oh, yes.
Looks like Magu took at least 25 tries to get through that wall clip, but it's still worth it in the long run just trying to go for it anyway, even if he had some bad sub-pixels along the way. Because just playing through the level normally, it would take a lot longer than you would normally have to do in 7-1, and just because you have a lot of those slow elevators to contend with and a lot of risk from some of the enemies that can spawn there.
Wow. Wow. That swing, man. What are the odds that the one fortress in the way, too? That's crazy.
So the Navy ended up being the solution that was needed to get to the airship, so that allows uropsalis to pull ahead.
Welcome to Randomizer, where random 3-minute time swings happen. Although, I mean, to be fair, the Hammer Bros tried to slow him down. They did marathon him, so, like, you know, they can't let him go too fast.
So fingers crossed to both our racers that they'll have a pretty linear path to the airship in World 7, which can often be the case. And hopefully they won't have anything obstructing their path like a bridge, so they won't have to play any forts. uropsalis opting to screen wrap over that piranha.
Going right back into the pipe he came out of the last time. I think he's trying to take a more linear approach to World 7 this time because he kind of got lost last seed, so he's probably going to just like go island by island, pipe by pipe, instead of going in, you know, multiple pipes, which is going to be a little slower, but he should be able to figure out where he needs to go and what's required fairly quickly.
I think he's tested out at least 5 or 6 pipes by now, so I think it would probably be beneficial for him to just... Oh, well, there you go.
And if this is the fortress,
I would have otherwise recommended to just play one of those levels and hope that, you know, the neighboring pipe right there would take you to where you need to go. But it looks like uropsalis was able to find a way to that southeast island, so hopefully it pays off for him. Just don't pay attention to anything I say.
Yeah, I mean, he'll at least know what he needs to do if this fort isn't the one required. And I mean, since it was in the way anyway, he's not really losing any time playing it. So I think it ended up being more of a risk to play the fort on the first island, though. I'd say most people, when they open up World 7, opt to play the first fortress. I know I do.
Looks like they're going to have to both backtrack to the first island anyway, because that didn't unlock the bridge.
Oh, you got the same end card again, by the way, so nice 1 and 8. So yeah, just free inventory, nice. You gotta love it. Not going for door 3, very disappointed.
So uropsalis found the fort that he needed to unlock the bridge, so we'll see if he's able to get back over to the southeast island in one piece.
Yeah, he's decided, you know, I've got all the inventory I really need at this point, so I don't really want to play Piranha Plant level, and honestly, I don't blame him.
Piranha plants are pretty much arranged enemy-wise, similarly to how you would normally play them in vanilla. So on average, it's going to take about 15 seconds to grab each of those items and transition out and to get to the next level. So it's a little bit slower than your average Hammer Bro fight.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's worth noting that essentially, if you use a star, it's always just a free pass, both of them, so...
Right, so it looks like uropsalis and magooisadorable are still very much within striking distance of each other. So World A is another common grade equalizer, so it's still very much anyone's game at this point.
That's not a sight you like to see in World 8, when you load on the map and you see 3 pipes. You're like, okay.
But you can often remedy that if 2 of those pipes lead to the same screen, so that makes process of elimination a little bit easier.
Alright, so we see a lock so far, so we know 3 bridges are still in play. Alright, another lock, so 2. Meanwhile, Magoo... Oh, 3 locks, okay. So... he's got a hammer. Yep. Okay. And 1 bridge, so... honestly, I kind of hate being in this situation, right? Because there's so many forts left, and you have to check every single time. And it could be a case where your opponent just goes to the right fort right away and finds it one time, and then doesn't lose a bunch of time checking the levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true as well. And sometimes you often be in a situation where you do the ships, you do the Air Force, you do the fort, and that still ends up not being the solution to get to Bowser's Castle. So you end up having to play one of the 2 tanks, one of which will just count as an ordinary level, and another one which will actually count as a fort to unlock something. So you don't want to risk having to, having to play one of those tanks that are directly in your path, and it doesn't do you any favors.
Strangely enough, they both played the exact same level to start, so obviously Euro's got the advantage because he knows where to go to the end, so you know, he's kind of hoping that this is the one he needs here. And probably just going to take a death here, I'd imagine.
I mean, that tank leads to a dead end anyway, so he really doesn't have to play it.
Yeah, and the other thing that's unfortunate about playing forts after you break the locks is you know, if it breaks a lock, you don't see it, so you don't know what it did.
So it looks like that dry bones just spawned in a really bad place, just right on top of him as he was dropping down.
I think he took it in death intentionally there, so he could just tail.
In that case, that's a good idea.
I'm guessing Magoo must not have hammers. That level's in a real unfortunate spot. If that level just wasn't there, you wouldn't have to do extra pipe transitions. So opting to play 2 of the 4 forts and hoping that one of them, oh boy. Okay.
All right, so I think that at this point it's possible that it's either the super tank or the or whatever the Air Force happens to be that unlocks Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, so they're both playing this level. So I think since uropsalis knows where to go, I think he still has the advantage here. It's really close, though. Yeah, definitely, because, yeah, I think at this point, if it's not this level, they both haven't played the one that he has remaining. So I think, and of course it is. And he's got the cloud for it.
Oh, wow. What a turn of events. So uropsalis is going to be going into Bowser's Castle full force with the hammer suit and the star equipped. It looks like they both made the right decision to not play the Air Force. Which is kind of a bold move because usually I prefer to get all my fortresses out of the way as soon as they become possible, because I know that at least one of them is going to be needed to advance past Bowser's Castle in most cases anyway.
Yeah, especially the dead end ones, right, where it's just like a pipe into that, because you're just kind of worried about having to go back there. That's just, what, 3 extra pipe transitions essentially, or 2, I mean, I guess.
I've seen a lot of racers approach Bowser's Castle differently. Sometimes they'll make 1 or 2 attempts at the clip in the upper route and then just go straight through the statue room.
And get your GGs out for uropsalis. I mean, it's a split, so, you know, 1-1. Needed it to stay alive, and he stays alive.
This has been a really, really close race, so big congratulations to both of our races. This has been a really, really good show. So uropsalis finishes off with an official.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say uropsalis finishes off with an official SRL time of 37:31.
So it looks like the unplayed fortress in World 8 here was 5 Fortress 1. So yeah, I guess the good news here for Magoo is that he's played all the fortresses, so I think as long as he can find where he needs to go at this point, which is kind of where he's been at for a while, so he just can't figure out where this last pipe is. Although, I guess there probably was a lock in the way. And that was probably a fortress he needed for the lock. He must not have had hammers. I didn't see him use any. Did you?
I think I've only seen uropsalis.
Wait,
use
it wasn't even in the
hammers
way?
on his end.
What? What? I don't understand. Let's go the wrong way. Oh my god.
Oh no, he's figured it out.
So I think we'll check momentarily to see if uropsalis will be joining us for an interview.
So it turns out he clouded a pretty good level as well. I really don't like playing this level. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, we had both runners finishing with some extra cloud inventory, but I mean, it happens. Happens to everybody. Sometimes you just tunnel vision a little bit on certain things and forget what your inventory is.
So it looks like uropsalis has accepted the invitation to do an interview with us. So we'll be hearing from him shortly. Meanwhile, magooisadorable is just rounding up Bowser's castle as we speak. So it looks like he's going to opt to take the lower route this time. We'll see if he can hold on to his fire flower to get a quick kill on Bowser. As he can around those Potoboos, and I can't blame him, especially with those randomized statues right around the corner.
It's really good that you can't make it to Bowser with that star, because if you did, you'd actually soft lock.
Yeah, I think you'll still be able to insta-kill Bowser, but the door won't open up.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't consider him having taken a death, actually. The thing I don't like about this Bowser arena is it's just really awkward.
Fuck! What?
It just seems a lot more flat by comparison.
Come on!
Yeah, I don't think he realizes Mike's active. Yeah, GG. He has finished up here. And he finishes with an official SRL time of 42:26. So, yeah, unfortunately, just World 8 kind of was the great equalizer in this race. It's a really close race. Pretty much throughout the entire thing. I'd say once uropsalis kind of got the lead after making that play in World 6, he really didn't look back.
He had some sort of unfortunate routing decisions early on with World 2, especially when he had to play at level 6-6. But because of differences in their inventory and some of the levels they decided to choose, I mean, even despite all that, they still stayed pretty close by the time they got to reach Subworld's airship. So it's just a constant reminder that anything can happen in Randomizer from beginning to end. So never count yourself out until you're actually in that door.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never know how bad your opponents have, or how bad of a time your opponent's having, you know? Especially if they get the right combination of levels. I mean, oh man, I've seen it. You get like, 6-6 followed by Atlantis.
Reaching out to both our races right now. We'll see if we can get them in here for an interview.
Yeah, we're just waiting for them to come in Discord here, and then once they come in, they should have the invites because I did mark them as done. Yeah, sorry guys, we're trying to get them in the Discord. It looks like Magoo is in Discord. He's got to change channels now. For some reason, they are not getting links, so just a moment here. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, we do have a schedule. And the schedule is as such. In about 8 minutes, actually on this channel, we'll have another race going on between S Diesel and Dark Shadows 59. And then later tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern time, we've got Human Mustard versus Dr. J PhD on the main Speed Gaming channel. Tomorrow we have Charlie Boy and Dave Lindo at 10 p.m. Eastern. Friday we have magooisadorable versus Paradox 64 at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So a lot of stuff coming up here, and even more races to be scheduled yet. And there's actually more on the schedule for this weekend too. So definitely be on the lookout for more action.
Looks like we are joined by uropsalis. GG on the races.
Hey, yeah, thanks.
Do you have any initial impressions just to start?
Oh, I've got impressions. I got a lot of them.
Let it all out, my friend.
Hello.
Problem is that when you play randomizer, you play so many randomizers, and you just have no idea what exactly happened. I do remember though that I had a lot of hammers. I didn't get to use really a lot of the hammers. I do remember that in World 3 in the first race, I probably had a chance to use them on both of those rocks in World 3. And instead of playing the whole loop, but I kept, I usually have a strat that I want to kind of save hammers for some of the more elaborate worlds instead of just wasting them on 2 rocks. So I kind of gambled and says like, well, you know, I'll just keep them and then maybe I can break a lock somewhere later. And then somehow I get to World 8. I'm like, well, I still have 5 hammers. So
That's a pretty common issue for me as well.
I broke both those rocks because at that point in the race, I felt I was so far behind that I was just kind of gambling. And so I was like, oh, I got the second hammer. Bam, bam, we're going to go. And I was like not saving anything at that point because I felt like I had such a just trash 1 and 2 that I kind of needed to gamble a little bit. And yeah, okay. So you played that whole loop then? Right.
Oh yeah, I played the whole loop because I was kind of betting that there would be something further ahead. I rarely ever do the double hammer for both of those rocks. It's really, really rare that I ever do that. Maybe in that case, actually, now that I think about it, because the whole thing was this giant loop, and also the fort. I mean, but also the fort was there too, so I kind of wanted to play the fort, but anyway, it didn't really work out. So that was just one of those rare chances where you should have really probably done the double hammer.
Yeah, for Magoo, I mean, it ended up working out because he had so many hammers, and you guys ended up with so many hammers. I thought you were role-playing as Home Depot. That's kind of how I imagined you. I was like going through the seeds. So, but yeah, no, when he used the 2 hammers, I know people like, should he do that? It's so early. But I kind of figured he must have known because he'd had a few matches by that point, so he probably knew he was getting a lot of hammers from the end card.
Yeah. Yeah, like hammers were in the end card, and it was like, well, if they're there, I need to use them. Especially, you know, like flags 1 and flags 2, you should use your hammers. I feel like, you know, they're there to be used. So yeah.
And it feels really bad to have hammers in World 8. It's like a good thing and a bad thing to have hammers in World 8. Like the bad thing is that, well, I mean, the good thing is that you can break all the locks and you can navigate freely in World 8. The bad thing is that most of the time the game is just trolling you. So there's like, you navigate and you know where everything is, but at the same time you don't really get to Bowser's Castle faster because you're still basically playing all the levels. So
Right.
And then, you know, you always find the bridge. It's like, oh, there's a river there. So I guess all 5 of my hammers will not build a bridge across the river. So, oh well.
Oh, we are getting the cane from the side of the stage here, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We'll move on here. But I mean, anyway, World 8 was kind of crazy because uropsalis like clears the entire world and figures out where he needs to go right away, but then realizes there's a bridge and he's still got 4 fortresses left. But then Magoo's on the other side where he's like, I can't even find the end of the world. And so he's like trying to find it.
Every one of those forts was a dead end fort too. So you had to commit to doing it. And God, it just kind of broke my brain. And once I saw the dot done, I was like, all right, well, maybe start thinking a little more about this.
I mean, either way, guys, those two races were really entertaining. The first one was extremely close. I mean, it could have gone any way in the last level, and the second one, I mean, there's really like one major swing in World 6 where uropsalis actually did everything right and saved like 3 minutes. So, I mean, sometimes that happens, but yeah. So I think unless do you have any ending thoughts here before we go here and let them get set up for the next race?
Magoo, GG, good races, and I wish you luck on your future races as well.
Yeah, you too, man. That was real fun. Yeah. All right. Yeah, GG.
Congratulations to both our races. This was a really good show. It's been a pleasure to commentate for this. So yeah, just in a couple minutes from now, we're going to be having S Diesel versus Dark Shadows 59 on SpeedGaming 3 channel. So don't go away. You're not going to want to miss it. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, can't wait. Cool.
Have a good one, everybody.